Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Attack the Pack. Happy July 4th edition. Alright, so, before we continue doing our schedule week analysis, we're going to hit up with some news in the NFL this week. A couple interesting things happened. One, Andrew Corliss got arrested, for all you Packers fans out there. He shot a couple shots into the ground after getting into an altercation. And then when the cops showed up, he ran. So, yeah, any chance of him having a good season this season just went out the door. So that happened.
Any chance of him having a further career in Green Bay is slim.
Yeah.
They don't put up with that BS.
I don't know, they let LaTroy Guion slide. That was more out of desperation, I think.
Yeah, and he was charging a weapon in public.
Yeah. Alright, but now we're on to something a little bit more league-wide, not so much just the Packer fans. Russell Wilson, whether by him, his agent, I don't know where precisely it's coming from, but it's coming out of his camp somewhere, that he wants to be the highest paid player in the NFL. He wants to be the highest paid quarterback. And rumor has it he's asking for about $25 million a year. Now, to put this in perspective, Aaron Rodgers gets $22 million. So, Joe, I know how you're going to respond, but tell the people at home how you feeling about this Russell Wilson situation?
Do his statistics, does his play warrant being the highest, not just the highest paid quarterback, the highest paid player in the NFL?
Is he the best player in the league?
No.
Is he even top 50? If we're talking all players in the league, probably not. Hate to say, Seattle fans and anyone else who's on the Russell Wilson pot smoking express, but no, he's not really even a top 50 player. Which I'm sure he was in the top 100 countdown and all that other bullshit. But I mean, if we're talking how good is he at being a quarterback compared to how good other people are at their respective positions, you know, Patrick Peterson's a better corner, Julio Jones is a better wide receiver, Calvin Johnson is a better wide receiver, J.J. Watt is a better defensive end, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they're both better quarterbacks. And I didn't look up the numbers prior to the show, but probably Andrew Luck too. But Adrian Peterson is better at being a running back than quarterback. I mean, better at being a running back than Russell Wilson is at being a quarterback. And I know you're saying, oh, well, you're comparing apples to oranges. But, I mean, if you're talking best 50 players in the league, that's what you have to do. Now, if you're talking best quarterbacks in the league, then yeah, you would compare them to other quarterbacks. But how effective is he at being a quarterback compared to all these other people? And I would argue Ben Roethlisberger and Tony Romo are better quarterbacks, and I don't even like Tony Romo. But I would argue they're both better quarterbacks than Russell Wilson.
Well,
Alright, so now I know what you're saying. Well, okay, if he's not top 50, well, he's got to be top 5 quarterbacks. No, he's not. And I have the stats to prove it and back it up. We're going to take him and we're going to compare him to Cam Newton. Now, why are we comparing him to Cam Newton? They both have similar skill sets. They both work with similar receiving cores. And they both have similar defenses. The one key difference between Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers and Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks is the Seattle Seahawks have a beast in a running back in Marshawn Lynch, arguably the second best running back in the league today. Some biased people may put him above Adrian Peterson, but that's just not the case. But I digress. He has Marshawn Lynch, and Cam Newton has a myriad of backs who aren't nearly as good as Marshawn Lynch. But let's run the numbers side by side. All right, first I'd like to point out that Russell Wilson has degressed, has regressed, has gotten worse, however you want to put it. He has not improved one bit his 3 years in the league. Proof. First year, 30 total touchdowns. Now, since they're both sort of scrambling, running quarterbacks, we totaled rushing touchdowns and passing touchdowns for their touchdowns, and then for mistakes, it's interceptions and fumbles. 30 touchdowns total, 12 mistakes. Second year, 27 touchdowns, 11 mistakes. Less scores, one less mistake. But here's the kicker. The year after that, this past year, 26 touchdowns, less scores again, 12 mistakes. That's not a positive trend. All right? And, oh, he loves Golden Tate. Yeah. Okay, but Cam Newton lost Steve Smith. He got Kelvin Benjamin in return, but still, it's a rookie. They got Paul Richardson. So, I mean, say what you want, but the receiving cores are equally shitty. I mean, come on, Doug Baldwin, he can come out there and make some plays the same as some other receiver for Carolina. Now, by comparison, Cam Newton, first year in the league, 35 touchdowns total, 19 mistakes. Yes, he had more mistakes, but he also had more scores. Second year in the league, 27 scores, 16 mistakes. A 3 drop in mistakes. 3 less mistakes for the entire year. Yes, he scored less, but at the same time, he's making less mistakes. But then, here's the kicker. Third year in the league, third year, 30 touchdowns. So a 3 touchdown increase compared to his second year in the league, and only 14 mistakes. So while he was able in Cam Newton's third year in the league, Cam Newton was able to increase his scoring totals and still managed to decrease his mistakes. Now last year he was banged up all last year, but besides, that was his 4th year last year, and we're only comparing the first 3. So back to the point, I think Cam Newton got overpaid. But honestly, I would take Cam Newton over Russell Wilson any day. Look, at the stats don't lie, the trends don't lie. Cam Newton is improving his craft, Russell Wilson is not. Russell Wilson has the benefit of having Marshawn Lynch and that great defense. Whereas Cam Newton's got Luke Kuechly and that great defense, but and even then, are the defenses even equal? No, they're not. All right, I read a thing on Bleacher Report today about the top middle linebackers. Yeah, Luke Kuechly was number 1, but number 2, Bobby Wagner from Seattle. Does Carolina have a shutdown corner in like Richards or not Richards? Richard Sherman? No, they don't have a top. No, they don't. All right. Do they have the Legion of Boom? No, they don't. They got a good defense, don't get me wrong. It's a top 5 defense in the league, but it's not Seattle. So, I mean, Carolina's probably comparable to Arizona, probably, as far as like defenses, but it's not Seattle. So, no Seattle defense. Good defense, but not a Seattle defense. No running back to take pressure off you, because I like Jonathan Stewart and he can be productive, but he's not as talented as Marshawn Lynch, and he can't stay healthy. So no consistency at running back, yet he's been able to improve his craft. Offensive line woes out the ass. Jordan Gross retires. They still haven't figured what to do at left tackle, but Cam Newton still manages to progress his craft and get better. Do I think Cam Newton should be the 4th highest paid quarterback in the league? No. But do I think he's a hell of a lot better than Russell Wilson? Yeah, when you start looking at the numbers and you start looking at the teams, yeah, he's done a lot. He's done more than Russell Wilson with less than with what Russell Wilson has. So, now, here's another way. Okay, they're both running scrambling nimble quarterbacks. But while Newton has more speed and physicality like that of a running back, Wilson is a lot more agile and elusive. So you would think, well, Wilson, at least he's taking less sacks, right? I mean, he's got the better offensive line. He's got Marshawn Lynch to keep the defenses honest. And he's more nimble than Cam Newton, right? I mean, he's got to be taking less sacks. Not the case. Russell Wilson's first 3 years in the league, he took 35, 44, and 42 sacks. Cam Newton took 35, 36, and 43. So he's not even using his mobility to, and his better offensive line. You put Cam Newton on that team, they win 2 Super Bowls. Plain and simple. Cam Newton to me is like a borderline top 10 quarterback. I mean, that's just like right off the top of my head. He may be a top 10 quarterback. I know he's not a top 5. He may be a top 10 quarterback, but Russell Wilson, sorry, he's not a top 10er. There's no way in hell he deserves to be the number 1 paid quarterback. Super Bowls are a team accomplishment, not a quarterback accomplishment. You want to get paid like an NFL MVP? You want to get paid like a Peyton Manning in his prime, a Tom Brady, an Aaron Rodgers? You have to perform like those guys. That's like saying a running back wants to be paid like Adrian Peterson, but all he does is rush for 1,200 yards every year. Adrian Peterson ran for 2,000. And the most you ever average is 1,200, but you want to be paid like Adrian Peterson. This motherfucker wants to be paid not like Aaron Rodgers. He wants to be paid $3 million a year more than Aaron Rodgers, but he doesn't perform anywhere close to Aaron Rodgers. One second, folks. I'll look something up before I start it out real quick. You know, I want to get my facts straight, unlike a lot of those Seattle supporters. Oh, holy Jesus. Aaron Rodgers, last year, MVP, he had 38 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He had less interceptions than Russell Wilson and damn near twice the touchdowns. Twice the touchdowns. And he was sacked only 28 times. Now, yes, we had the best offensive line Aaron has had his entire career last year. But he also has a super quick release, and he's a little mobile. And he scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. Like, he had 40 touchdowns, and he had 3 fumbles. So, 40 touchdowns and 8 mistakes, compared to 26 touchdowns and 12 mistakes. You see the difference there? 40, 26. 12, 8. There's a huge difference there, just like there should be a huge difference in your salary, you dipshit. Oh, I want to get paid from based on my performance. I'm really humble. I want $25 million a year. Which one of those does not belong? The I am really humble. Like, so... the news is coming from somewhere. It's either him or his agent, but you want to get paid based on your performance? Great, then you should take a 4-year, $40 million contract. Yeah, you should take that, because that's really what your performance nets.
I mean, that kind of pay boils down to: are you that important to the Seattle Seahawks?
Fuck no!
That you warrant that kind of money.
Not only that,
are you what J.J. Watt is to the Houston Texans? Are you what Tom Brady is to the New England Patriots?
Are you what
Aaron Rodgers is to the Green Bay Packers?
Or Adrian Peterson to the Minnesota Vikings? And that's what I was saying earlier about him not being a top 50 player in the league. Patrick Peterson means a ton to that Arizona Cardinals defense and that team as a whole. Marshawn Lynch means a lot to that Seattle defense. Or, I mean, not defense. Well, actually, kind of, yeah, he does mean something to the defense. Because if he's grinding out yards and taking time off the clock, defense gets a rest. But he means more to that team. Richard Sherman means more to that team. Earl Thomas means more to that team. Cam Chan, he's not even he's like, what, the 4th, 5th best player on his team? And he wants to be paid the highest in the league.
And he wants to be paid that kind of money. You pay him $25 million a year, how are you going to continue to afford Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Cam Chancellor,
Earl Thomas, Michael
the
Bennett,
players,
Jimmy Graham, the guy they traded for? How the fuck they going to manage? Because he's got a monster contract.
the players who make you look good,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Look at the Patriots' offensive numbers when Rob Gronkowski is in and out of the lineup.
Yep.
The rushing totals increase because he's a really good blocker, and of course Tom Brady's numbers increase. His efficiency increases because he's a safety blanket. He means more to that Patriots offense than Russell Wilson does to this team's offense.
Heck, another big part of it. You take all that money and put it on Wilson. How are you going to pay for Marshawn Lynch, who's already had problems with that team?
Yeah.
Already threatened to leave.
Not just leave, retire. You want to be paid top quarterback money, you better fucking perform like a top quarterback. Like, this is ridiculous. $25 million a year. You're not even worth 20. You're not even worth whatever Cam Newton is getting. Wake up and smell the roses. He needs one of those Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick, very heavy incentive-laden contracts. That, like, Seattle giving him this kind of money is spelling nothing but disaster. Literally, you could probably go get Brian Hoyer and still make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that.
And don't say you can't, because Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson, those two names ring a bell. Yeah, 2000 and 2002 Super Bowl champions with great defenses and a running game. So don't say it. I mean, don't sit here and say, oh, no. that offense wouldn't be anything without him. No, that ain't true at all. It's damn. I didn't realize Andrew Luck had 3 touchdowns. By comparison, Andrew Luck, who last year was the offense for Indianapolis. I mean, you had T.Y. Hilton, but that was about it. Everybody else was either all getting in and out with injuries or just underperforming. No real running back to speak of. He had 43 touchdowns and 20 mistakes. Which, a big knock on, Andrew Luck, well, not a big knock, but a knock is he, on 3rd and long, if he doesn't see anything, instead of throwing it away and letting the punter come on, he'll just chunk it deep and take the pick. But yeah, I mean, he made 8 more mistakes than Russell Wilson, but he also had damn near 20 more touchdowns last year. So, yeah. That, yeah. Just ouch. That's all I can say is just ouch. Like, I can't wait for, this year, because, Andrew still doesn't really have a defense. I mean, they're his defense will be doing good if they're middle of the pack.
Yeah. But
he finally has Frank Gore, and he's got a stable of wideouts now. It's going to be interesting to see what his numbers look like this year.
Another stuff to look at. Look at his sacks.
Yeah. That's another. Okay, yeah. I mean, that's one thing you can look to.
He's not exactly a nimble quarterback.
Well, I mean, he is. He ran like a 4.7 something, I think. In the 40. But I mean, Andrew Luck, he had a terrible offensive line outside of the left tackle. Nate Solder only let up 4 sacks all year, but as much as they passed it, he only had 27 sacks last year. Seattle barely passes at all. Well, I mean, they pass, but not nearly as much as the 616 attempts. All right, 600.